Hi, my name is Fabiana and today we'll be making a cardigan project. I'm gonna be using this beautiful pashmina yarn. It is 100 grams and 250 meters, and I'm gonna be using 4 rows or 400 grams of this yarn. But you can be using your worsted yarn, or you can be using even DK yarn as well. Just make sure you check the gauge before. The same amount, okay, so 400 grams as well of this yarn. I'm making a size medium, okay. Any other size I'm gonna leave it calculated in the pattern down the description below. You're gonna need a crochet hook just to grab stitches, a darning needle to seam it. I'm gonna be using my Addi 46, but you can be using your Sentro 48 as well. And if you're making a small or extra small size, you can be either using your Sentro 40 for these sizes, okay? And then I'm gonna be using my interchangeable needles kit. I'm gonna be using the 4.5 millimeters needle, and I'm using this kit because I need a long wire for the neck and the bottom ribbing, and a short wire for the sleeves ribbing. Okay, so that's what you're gonna need. So for this project, I made already 2 long sleeves. Okay, each one of my sleeves has 100 rows for size medium. Okay, for a small and a extra large or large, you have to check in the pattern. And I started with 3-4 rows of waste yarn, and I casted off stitches from the machine using waste yarn and a tapestry needle. Very simple way to do it. Okay, my sleeves have 8 centimeters or 19 inches long. Okay, my arm's very long, so you might need less than that. And then I made 2 back panels. This for the back. They are straight panels, which I started with a few waste yarn rows, 3 to 4 rows as well. And I made 120 rows total. They are square panels. There's nothing different about them. And I finished the same way, bind off with some waste yarn. That's just easier for you to pick up stitches and seam the shoulders when you finish, so that's why I did that. And now all I'm gonna show you is the front panel. So the front panels, they will have the same number of rows, but I'm gonna make a little V cut in one of the sides of each panel of the front, so we have that V cut for the neck of our cardigan. And I'm gonna show you how I did that now. So to make this panel, each one of the panels of this cardigan will have 41 stitches, and I'm starting on needle 1 because on my Addi machine, on the Addi machines, they count rows on the panel mode when you are using from needle 1, because the counter counts around here. That's where it turns. So it's important to use from needle 1, which means that you have to have your tube mode on the side selected, okay? So I'm going to start casting on 41 stitches, so from needle 1 to 41. And then make 3 or 4 rows with this number of stitches. Just place your yarn in the feeder. Leave a long tail for seaming, to make the mattress stitch on the sides later. And put your counter back to 0, and then you can start cranking. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the V-cut right in the middle of my work. So I'm going to make 60 rows here. And if you are making any other size, just, you know, let's say you're making an extra large, you have 140 rows instead, you're gonna start the neck cut on row number 70. I'm starting the neck cut on row number 60, which means that I have to make 60 rows now. Now I've made here my 60 rows, and now I'm going to start decreasing. So what I did was, for the other panel, and so you know the difference. Okay, so for this one, what I did was, I started decreasing in this very next three stitches here, okay? And I'm going to decrease for this panel, that's the right side panel, I'm going to decrease always on the beginning of my row, which means is needle number 1, okay? For this one that I'm making now is the other side one, they have to be mirrored, so they close like this on the front. I'm going to start decreasing at the end of the row, okay? So when I reach 60, I make one extra row. And then on the beginning of the next row, I'm going to decrease. So I'm going to remove the yarn. I'm gonna release 3 needles. So release the stitch, so you can remove it from the machine. And now what you do is you grab these 3 stitches with a hook. Grab the 3 stitches and now start your way back. When this needle is halfway open is easier to just put the stitches back. You're gonna remove this 3rd stitch from the hook. I'm gonna put the 2nd stitch in the 2nd hook, in the very next hook, and put the 3rd stitch on top of it, this way, and then put the first one in the last needle. God. Okay, put them all the way down on the next peg, and then put that yarn back. And then in that 2nd needle, just make sure the loops are way down at the bottom of the needle so you can start working your row. I'm gonna be making, in between the creases, I'm gonna be making 4 rows. So count 4 rows and then do it again. So now I'm gonna be doing this 10 times, so 10 less stitches on each side of my v-neck, so it has a cut like this, which is 20 total in the middle. So which means that on the back, when I seam the back with it, on the back I'm going to have 10 stitches left for the neck around the back of your neck. Repeat this for 10 times and make sure you make 120 rows total for each panel as well. So here is our neck cut, you can see it. And now I'm just going to remove this panel from the machine with some tapestry needle and waste yarn. Very simple. And there you go, this is our last piece, and now I'm gonna show you how to put it all together. So this is the result that I have after finishing both v-neck decreasing. I have these 2 panels here, and now I'm going to put the back panels together. So I'm gonna match stitch both panels on the back, and I'm going to place, and then I'm gonna seam the shoulders both shoulders with the back shoulders after. So I'm gonna show you this in a second. These are my two back panels. So I'm going to seam the middle here with the mattress stitch. If you don't know the mattress stitch yet, just go on my basic Sentro knitting machine playlist that I have the how to make the mattress stitch there. Okay, so I'm going to mattress stitch the back, and then I'm going to graft the shoulders. When you attach the shoulders, make sure the v-neck's facing inside the cardigan, otherwise I made this mistake before, guys, don't worry. And then when I saw I had the v-neck facing out instead of in. And then grab one of the tails you had and start seaming the graft stitch from the bottom to the top, top to bottom. And then you can remove this and then go through the same stitch the same way on the other side as well. So you form that same V shape from underneath. That one, the one from before, and the next one, always. So go all the way to here. You're gonna have 10 stitches left on this side and 10 stitches left on this side. They're gonna be used for the neck. So just leave them in the same waist yarn, waiting for when you're gonna make the neck ribbing. I'm going to start seaming the sides, and I like to seam the sides first so I can start the bottom ribbing, which is the next part that we are going to be making. And so to do that, what I do first is, and I'm not gonna attach the sleeves just yet, because all the project gets too heavy if you attach the sleeves to make the ribbing. So I make all the ribbing first, and then I attach the sleeves after. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna place the sleeve here, place a marker here where I want it to be. Make sure you don't leave a space that's too little, that's gonna be tied on your shoulders. And then if you wanna go really perfect about it, what you can do is just count the rows and just place a marker on the other side. What I normally do is just I fold it in half, and then I just place another marker at that same exact place on the other side. Okay, so both arm spaces are gonna be the same on both sides. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is we're gonna seam both sides with the tails we have. We're gonna mattress stitch all the way to where the marker is, and then leave the tail for seaming the sleeves after, okay? So that's the next step, and then we're gonna make the ribbing after this. So I seam both sides all the way to where the markers were. Okay, and right now you can try it on. This could be a jacket if you want as well, a little vest or something. You want to make a different project, is made the same way. Okay, guys, so now our very next step, we're gonna slide circular needle all the way through these stitches. To do the best part, that I think is just to remove all this waste yarn and all this, you know, all these tails that we have, and starting on one of the sides. Okay, so I'm probably gonna be starting here, and you can get a long wire to do that. Okay, I advise like 60 to 80 centimeters wire. I'm gonna get mine now. So I got a very long one that I have. It's 80 centimeters or 32 inches long, and 4.5 millimeters needle. I'm gonna be sliding through all the stitches, and then after I did this, I'm just gonna remove this waste yarn to start making the bottom ribbing. After you removed all that waste yarn, we're gonna start the ribbing, and to do that we're going to just attach a new yarn tail to the to one of the edges. I like to start working facing the right side of my work. And we are not gonna be working on the round, we're gonna be working and turning every time we get to the edge. So I'm gonna be making one by one ribbing again. But if you wanna make the 2 by 2 ribbing, 2 knitted stitches, 2 purl stitches. I'm going to be making the one by one, so I'm going to remove this first stitch and I'm going to knit the second one. And then I'm going to purl and knit. So this is the ribbing I'm gonna be making throughout this project. I'm not gonna explain the ribbing again, only this one time. And for this cardigan, I'm gonna be making around 6 rows. I don't want it very long, 6 to 8 rows, okay? So I have here 8 rows of ribbing, and look how pretty this is. It's so soft and nice. Now, to bind it off, I explained this a few times. We are going to bind off using only knitted stitches. So remove this first loop and knit the second one. And then just pull the first loop on the top of the second loop. Knit. And then pull it on the top. This is gonna be made on the right side of your knitting, so on this side here, so all the stitches are facing the right side as well when you bind them off. And just repeat this around the entire bottom until you're on the other side. And then I'm going to start, when you reach this side here, we are going to start making the neck ribbing then. Now here I'm on my last loop here, and I'm just gonna leave it here to start casting on stitches for the neck ribbing. But I just wanted to show you how nice is this ribbing made by hand. It's such a beautiful ribbing. And because our needle was a little smaller, you can see that the ribbing, it's a bit small than the rest of the knitted piece. What I'm going to do is just put through that next knot. There are little knots, as you can see. Just put through the next one and just pull it. And then from here, I'm going to make one, and then on the very next one, 2, 3, and then I'm going to skip one. Okay, so repeat this all around, and then when you reach these stitches here on the top, I'll come back just to show you how you do here. And then getting to this first corner, you just pull up a last stitch there. And what I'm going to do, so I can keep using this same yarn tail here, I'm going to make the stitch so I can keep working with that same yarn. So you just knit the stitch this way. So I placed all my stitches from the neck here in these long circular knitting needles. And now I'm going to make the ribbing here as well. And when I reach the point where I'm going to add the bottom cases, I'm gonna show you how I'm going to do it. And I'll be making the same length of this one, so it'll be 8 rows. So I'll be making around 3 rows and then to make the buttonholes, okay? I'm on my 4th row here. And here, so where I'm going to make the first buttonhole is gonna be right where I started the V-neck here. As you can see, there's the first decrease there. and that's where I'm gonna make the first buttonhole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bind them off. So make 1, 2, bind off, and bind off again. So depending of the size of your bottom, you need to make 2 or 3. I'm making 2 because I think that's enough for me. And then here, what you can do, I'm going to add 3. So the last one's gonna be right here on the bottom, and the next one's gonna be right in the middle. So if you wanna add a marker there, so you know when you reach it, you have to repeat the same thing again. And then right here, I'm gonna add the next one. Okay, so place a marker where you want your bottoms. If you want 4, just place 2 extra, 1 here and 1 here. And then when you reach the marker, just repeat the same space we did here. So I'll be doing that 3 times for 3 bottom spaces. And now when you turn to the other side and you reach that buttonhole, just make the stitches normally until you reach it. And then when you get there, you add that 2 stitches back this way. So 1, 2. And so then on the next row, you are going to make them as a normal stitch. And just keep doing it. Just normally until you reach the next one, and repeat the same thing to the next one as well. So here is our cardigan with the finished ribbing and holes. Here, all 3 of them. And now I'm going to make the sleeve ribbing. So I'm gonna quickly show you how I did it, because I'm going to decrease a few stitches for the wrist part, so it's a little smaller. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now from your kit, choose the 4.5 millimeters needle as well, and a wire that's not as long as the one we had before. This one's probably 15 centimeters long, and that's the one I'm gonna be using because it's just the right size for my wrist. Now, after you put all the stitches here, we're going to decrease 1/3 of the stitches. So to decrease 1/3 of the stitches, what you have to do is just every 3 stitches you make 2 together. So I'm going to start making the ribbing as well. And so to do that, the next 2 stitches I'm going to, and I'm actually gonna put here. Just place a marker where you started, so you know as well to start binding off on the right spot after. And here just make the first 2 stitches together for a knitted stitch, and then pull. And then knit normally, and then pull 2 together. So the same way through 2 loops, and then make the stitch. And then knit 1, and pull 1, and then knit 2 together. So I'm going to be doing that only on the first row. Okay, I'm going to end up finish this row here with 34 stitches. So just repeat this around and then make 5-6 rows of ribbing Same ribbing we did before, 1 knit, 1 purl stitch, just like we have here, and then bind off the stitches, and all we need to do is just put them together with our cardigan after we finish. So now the last thing to do is just to seam these sleeves to the cardigan.